Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey, right here on the Dice Tower. Today we're going to be looking at this bad boy, Trekking Through History by Underdog Games. A pretty cool game about putting your cards in order. Let's get down to the table and take a look, shall we? So, the first thing that we have to understand is turn order, and turn order is determined by your watch faces here that are on the clock. So whoever is on top is the person who is going to go first in that round. As people use time to pick up cards, the person who is in last place here is going to be the next person to go first. So it's possible for the person to go first and they're going to spend 3 time. 1, 2, 3. And then the next person that goes only spends 2 time. Well, they get to take another turn now until they are past the other person, and so forth and so on. When you take a round, you're going to choose a card from the row that is here. You have 6 different cards that are available to you, including this top one that's up here. When you take a card, you have to spend an amount of time that is on the card that you want to take. And that's how many spaces forward on the clock over here that you'll have to tick forward. But you can use these time gems to reduce the amount of time that you have to spend to take a card, but you can only go down to 1. You can never go down to 0. Now, when you choose which card you're going to take, you need to pay attention to the date of the card, because the date of the card, especially the first one, is better if it's further back into history, because you're going to be building from far back in history to more modern times. So you want the first card in your trek to be the oldest date possible. So from these that are out here right now, you've got 342 BCE and you've got 347 BCE. So of course 347 BCE is further back in time, so maybe they're going to want to take that thing. But that card. Another thing you need to take into effect, though, is what are the rewards that you're going to be getting and placing into your itinerary, because that's another way that you're going to be scoring points. Well, there's not much to talk about here, so they're going to want to take this. They're going to spend 2 time to take this card and put it into their trek, starting their first trek. When they do that, they're going to get 2 red tokens out of the supply, and they have to place that on their itinerary. So 2 reds will simply go here just like that. Now that this card has been taken, this will be displayed there. And now we have, look at that, 2000 BCE. So now that's pretty cool. What we're probably going to do on this, however, since it's now my turn, I'm going to spend a time gem, and I'm going to take this top one. It would normally cost me 2, but because I spent a time gem, it's only going to cost me 1. I'm going to move my tracker 1 there. I get 1 blue, and that's going to put that right there just like that. Now, since I'm still behind, I get to take another turn. And so 2000 BCE, the next one is going to be this one as well. So I'm going to go ahead and spend 1, 2, 3 time to take this one, which will give me 2 reds and a wild. 2 reds, which will go here and here. And then I also get a wild, and that will go here, which covers up a 2-pointer on my itinerary, which means that I will go forward 1, 2 points on the score track. Now, at this point, we'll take some time and talk about the itinerary that's here. So the way the itineraries work is that when you get resources and you put them into your slots here, you do have to go from top to bottom. So the first time I get a yellow or a light bulb resource, it'll go right here. The second time will go right here. But as you saw earlier, the reds had to go over here and the blues had to go over here from top to bottom. When you have a complete row like this filled in, it shows you a number of points that you'll be able to score immediately. But it's harder to get all the way down here because of all of the different resources that you have to get. Not impossible, just harder. If you ever get to a spot where you don't want to take any of the cards out here because, as with over here, they don't fit next into my timeline or they're just too far ahead in time, then you can choose to instead visit your ancestors, which allows you to get a wild token, and you only have to spend 3 time, and you could use time gems to reduce that cost. But I'm going to go ahead and take one of those, and what this does is it acts like the date that is just above it. So it basically just continues your trek without having to jump ahead in time by taking one of these 3 cards over here. So by doing that, I spend 1, 2, 3 time, which means that it's going to be my opponent's turn, and I can put this one wherever I want. I'll choose to put it on the blue right here. Now, at any point in time, one of the things that you can do is you can conclude your trek and start a new trek with the card that you've taken. The reason that you may want to wait longer is because the more cards that you have in your trek, the more points it'll be worth for you at the end of the game. But in a situation like this, where you have 1629 and the next one is 1829, and the game does come with this handy little board here, which tells you how many years are in each of the 3 decks. So if you look at 1829, there's only 1, 2, 3 left on this first day 1 deck. And then 1829 over here is going to go all the way to right there. So there are only this many cards in the second deck after 1829. So maybe you want to start over with a new trek. So this person has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in their trek, which is going to be 7 points at the end of the game. Not too bad. If they could get 1 more, they'd get 3 more points. But maybe we want to really get this card right here. So we're going to go ahead and collapse that trek. It's going to score them 7 points at the end of the game. And they're going to spend 2 to grab this to be the next card in their next trek, which will get them a brown and a green. And that will go here and here. Now this green gets them 3 points right off the bat. 1, 2, 3. And then since they finished this line, that scores them another 6 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now they've started another trek here. These will all slide down, and another card comes out over here, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and collapse my deck as well because 1300 is just a hard thing. I have 4 cards in my trek, which is going to score me 4 points at the end of the game. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one right here because of what I need to finish some of my stuff over here. But that's going to cost me to spend 4 time, and I only have 2 left. That's not a big deal because you can overspend for your last one. You just won't get a bonus, your punctuality bonus of 3 points if you do that. So I'm going to go ahead and spend 4. It'll get me this one, which will get me 2 browns and a green. So that green will go right there. My 2 browns will go 1 here and 1 down here, which gets me another time gem. And these will split over, and this one comes out over here like this. Now, since I've reached the 12 part of the clock, I can't take any more turns. My opponent's going to go ahead and spend 1 time gem, which will reduce the cost of this to just 1. They'll be able to put it on their trek just like this. They've spent only 1 time, which allows them to get their punctuality bonus, 1, 2, 3. And then they are also done, but they also get a red and a green, like so. So a green will go right there, and a red will go right here. And that will be the end of day 1. At the end of day 1, what you're basically going to do is you're going to take all of the day 1 cards that are in the deck and set them aside. You're done using them now. And then you're going to go ahead and take the day 2 cards and set them out like so. And the person who came in last will be the person who goes first in the next round. And this is how the game continues for an amount of 3 days. And then at the end of the third day, you go through final scoring. So you'll take the amount of points that you got throughout the course of the game from getting awards on your itineraries and history cards and all that kind of stuff. And then you'll also get 1 point for every unspent time gem that you haven't used. And then you'll also score points for the treks that you completed using this board over here. Whoever has the most points is the winner. So that's about that for Trekking Through History from Underdog Games. I really have to say right off the bat that the first time I played this game, I was taught by a friend of mine, and after I played it, I went home and I immediately purchased it. Now, I did make sure that I tried to purchase the Kickstarter version of the game, which basically just has a couple of extra things thrown into it as far as a solo mode and some extra little warp cards and time warp cards and stuff like that. Not a whole lot of difference between the Kickstarter version and the retail version that I'm aware of. But I have to say that I went home and I immediately purchased it. So that gives you a little bit of a foreshadowing as to what I'm going to say in my final thoughts, but I had to get that out there right away because this is a game that I purchased. This isn't one that I got sent as a review copy or anything like that. So keep that in mind. First pro of the game is the fact that the component quality is off the charts and the artwork is great. So I guess that's 2 pros. You have great component quality and you have great artwork. I am a person that, and I've said it many times before, if a game looks good, then it's more fun to play. Now, that doesn't always hold true. I get it. There are sometimes games employ mechanisms that people will just not find fun. I get that. But think of it this way. If that same game didn't look as good as it did, it probably wouldn't. It would be even less fun than it was for you, right? I'm a aesthetic gamer, and so good components, nice components, and great artwork are huge pluses for me for a couple of different reasons. First of all, I have more fun playing games that look good. Additionally, though, and this is kind of taking a step back, a game that looks good on the table will draw attention to itself, which means that more people are going to be interested in it, and it'll just gain more attention that way. And that's another reason why I think it's so important for games to look good and have good quality components. And this game has both of those. All of the cards are a nice linen finish. They have great artwork on them. The iconography that you use throughout the course of the game is very intuitive. It doesn't take a lot of brain power while you're playing the game to know what you have to do and what you're going to be getting from these different cards and so forth. The playmat that's in the that basically is the main board area is very beautiful, and it's nice thick neoprene. The numbers that are printed on it are very clear, crisp, distinct. All it really does is it holds the card places and provides you a score track. Doesn't really do a whole lot as far as mechanically speaking, but aesthetically speaking, it pulls everything together, and I think it's a great little playmat for the game, and it comes in the box. So that's another thing. We're not talking about it's an aftermarket thing. So the component quality is super good. That's my first pro, and the artwork is awesome. I really enjoy it. It's not the best that I've seen. It's not Vincent Dutrait. That's my favorite artist, but this artwork is really, really good, and it's thematically well done as well because they're not hugely detailed pictures and drawings, but they capture that event in history well, and I thought that it was a great job as far as the artwork is concerned. A third pro that's kind of a surface level thing is it's a game about history, so you would think that they would try to lean into that history a little bit, and they absolutely did, and I'm so glad that they did. It's just a little tiny thing, but each of these cards has on the back a brief description about the event that it depicts. So for example, this one says, take a dip in the Great Bath, 2000 BCE. It says, take a dip in the Great Bath, time to cool off in the Indus Valley. The Great Bath is considered the oldest public pool, but archaeologists are still researching its actual purpose. The people of Mohenjo-Daro designed drainage features in the Great Bath and around the city, showcasing city planning skills and an advanced civilization. That's cool. I like that. 342 BC, hit the books with Alexander the Great. Take a break between battles and settle in with a good book. While heading out on military campaigns, King of Macedonia, Alexander the Great made sure to pack reading material. He was influenced by his tutor Aristotle to love logic, music, and culture. He conquered and spread Greek culture and ideals to create a golden age of tolerance that lasted hundreds of years. Little tidbits of information on each and every one of these cards. And as you can see, there are a great number of cards. That's the second deck. That's the third deck. And here's the second deck. So we're not talking about just a little bit of work here. There were a lot of work went into that, and I am so happy that they did, because it really is cool to focus on, to lean into that little bit of history on each of these cards. I think it's a great thing. Mechanically speaking, this is a very simple game, but don't let that fool you, because there is a lot of thought processes that need to go on in each of your decision-making points, and I think that's a great thing. First of all, the itinerary cards that you're using provide part of the basis, at the very least, for determining what cards you're going to go for, because what rewards you get are going to determine how fast you can complete these itinerary cards. The more itinerary cards you complete, the more points you're going to score, the better you'll do in the game. But on top of that, the time dial here that is going to determine how many cards you take in a day, based on how many stops you make, is very important. These are all decisions that you have to weigh as you're choosing what cards you're going to take. But then on top of that, you have to do it in time order, in chronological order. So mechanically speaking, it's a very simple game, not difficult to play at all, but that kind of hides a pretty strategic game, because you can use your time gems and pick cards that will keep you further back in the pack, so to speak, so that you get more turns quickly, or you can really get that card that you really want that's going to give you a lot of different rewards and go far ahead, but then you're going to be kind of sitting there waiting for everybody to take their turns and catch up to you. So there's a lot of cool decisions that you make throughout the game, but they're not overbearing and they're not difficult decisions, but they are satisfying decisions. Kind of piggybacking on that is the whole visiting your ancestors deck. Now, there are only a finite number of these. You do have to economize these well, because at a certain point in the game, if everybody's using them, they are going to run out, and you're going to be stuck with having to use the cards that come out on the deck. But I thought that was a great little addition to the mechanisms there to help you keep your treks as long as you possibly can without being stuck on the years that come out on the display. Now, as far as cons are concerned, my last pro kind of leads into my con. The idea here is that if you get stuck behind and you have to take your turn, and there's no date out here that's really close enough to really help you much, and you don't have enough cards in your trek to score any points, well, you're kind of stuck taking a year that you probably don't want to take. And that just doesn't feel very good. But on top of that, if you're stuck far back, now you're probably going to have to take another one that you really don't want. So that's kind of a sticky situation, and I don't really enjoy that. It's a small con because you're just going to have to buck up and move on, right? You're going to have to get rid of that plan that you had and just start over, and I get that. But it does create some awkward moments, I guess, would be the best way to put it, because you just feel like there's not much I can do here. I'm just going to have to start over. And that's a small con for me, because I would rather not have that in the game, but it is kind of inherent because as you're trying to put these cards in order, it's just not going to work sometimes. So you're going to have to rethink your strategy and try to build back up. But that initial point of, oh, well, poop. I don't have much I can do right now. And I'm either going to have to go way far ahead in time in order to keep my trek going, or I'm just going to have to kind of bite the bullet and start a new trek and just take the low amount of points that this lackluster trek has given me at the end of the game, try to recover from it. I get it, but it is a little bit of a con for me. A small one, but still a con. But I will say this, as far as a rating is concerned for me, this one's going to get a very high 8 out of 10. And the reason I give it such a high 8 out of 10 is because I think it's a great game for a gateway type experience. And I'm all about gateway experiences right now, where I'm at in my life and the things that we're involved in, my wife and I. We have the opportunity to teach people new games on a very regular basis, and this is a game that I know I can pull out and people will automatically be able to hit the ground running for it, because you have only a few mechanisms that you have to teach, and the theme is such that people will just understand what they have to do almost intuitively. So I'm giving it high 8 out of 10. Component quality is great, artwork is great. Easy, simple mechanisms to teach that are still satisfying. All of that works together to give it a very strong 8 out of 10 for me, and that is what I'm talking about for Trekking Through History. So thank you for joining me. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.